I'm just curious for my own interest. How many people would love to do a paywall? How many people would like to charge your readers to read everything you write or most of what you write? I mean, I believe that there's value in what we do and that readers ought to pay for it. But I don't think we're all the way there yet to a world in which readers are willing to pay for it. So the next best thing is for us to ask for voluntary support in different ways. So we'll each talk a little bit about what we've done with our companies and get some ideas from you guys, and we'll answer questions as well. So I'm going to ask my fellow panelists we can just introduce ourselves and our sites and then talk a little bit about what you've done. And would somebody like to go first? You want to go first? You go first. Okay. My site is davidsonnews.net, and we have a second one called corneliusnews.net, and they're in North Carolina, north of Charlotte. I started the first site in December of 2006, and I would say within about 6 months I started getting checks coming in by mail, unsolicited, from my readers who said, I really want to support what you're doing. And it was one of the things that inspired me to really try and build a business around this. So the checks came in the first year. I think most of my support came from readers. It was probably about $5,000, which sounded pretty good at the time. The next year, I think we got about $15,000 worth of support from our readers, and that number has stayed pretty consistent since 2008. I would say that there's probably a ceiling on what you can get. My view of this is it's a lot like public radio. Public radio, and I also work at the local radio station in Charlotte, so I know a little bit about how we do things there. But in public radio, the conventional wisdom is that 10% of your listeners giving money is a pretty good response. There are not too many stations that get much above that, and that's a kind of a hard ceiling in the public radio world. A typical station might be in the 5 or 6% range. So if you translate that to what we're doing, if you come up with some kind of a core readership number, your most loyal readers, only about 10% of them in a good day are going to give money to you to pay for what you're doing. What does that mean? It means that 90% of your readers love what you do, but they don't want to pay for it. And that's the world we're in right now. So those of us who are thinking about going to a paywall are looking at that and saying, what happens if I do this and my readership drops by 90% and most of my revenues come from ads? It's not a win situation at the moment. So we've done a number of things over the past few years to try and inspire support from our readers. I just pulled up for all of us as we speak here. We'll show you the page on our site. I think if you go to all three of our sites, we all use the same lingo. Support Us is a button at the top of the pages. So on davidsonnews.net and corneliusnews.net, if you click the Support Us button, you'll come to our page. This changes every 6 months or so. It probably should change more often, but it's just a text appeal to folks to support us by making a voluntary payment. We have a payment system that we use. You can also send us a check. We also occasionally have events, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the messaging that we use on this page varies, but I usually try to have a reader testimonial or two in there from folks who have recently given me money and who have told us just how much they can't live without us. That's a good way to get people's attention. I also, in response early on to somebody who said, well, how much should I give you? You know, how much do you need? And we did not recommend any minimum level, but we did try to give people some ideas about what their money buys. And so we put in numbers about how much we pay for internet access, what it costs to do our online calendar, which is the best one in our area, how much is our internet hosting cost, that sort of thing. Giving the readers an idea of what sort of hard things they're buying with the money. Obviously, they're also buying the day-to-day coverage that we do. So we found that has helped. We also, in emails and conversations with folks, I talk to them about, well, what do you pay for other things? And I like to compare it to, what do you pay for a cup of coffee at the coffee shop every day? What do you pay for the daily newspaper if you subscribe to that? Now, the daily newspaper in our area, the Charlotte Observer, is about $180 a year. So I'll sometimes say to people, well, is it worth $180 or some portion of that? You know, try to inspire them to think about the value that they find in our site. So after doing this for 5 years, as I said, we get about 15 to 20% of our revenues from readers in different ways. and the average payment is about $62.50, which is actually not bad. I've talked to folks in the public radio world, and they're impressed by that. And that's either a one-time payment or we've recently been trying to move our readers to doing a monthly payment, and we now have an automated system, and we also have instructions for how people can go into their online banking and set up a monthly payment to us. So we probably have a few dozen people who make regular automated payments to us, which we like. We'd like to get everybody doing that. And the rest of the folks pay anywhere from quarterly to yearly. We also have an email reminder that we will send them, which we use through our constant contact email system. We invite folks to sign up for a reminder, and that goes out to them on whatever basis they want, monthly, quarterly, and they return their payments that way. We also do mail reminders to folks if they're on an annual renewal, and we try to get them to continue giving the following year. So that's a once-a-year thing. Lindsay handles that. There's probably 10 or 12 of those every month. Some months are heavier than others, and there seem to be times of the year that people are more likely to make a payment to us. Yeah. Do we give them anything in return? We don't. What's that? The news. Well, I would like to. I don't want people to pay us money because I gave them a doodad or a T-shirt or anything. I want them to pay for the news. But let's face it, they want to get something. We don't have an automatic premium of any kind the way public radio does. Give $35 and you get the coffee mug. We do have, at different times, we've had bumper magnets, window stickers, pens, T-shirts, that sort of thing. We also do. Sometimes in cooperation with advertisers, we'll get tickets to events, and we sometimes do ticket giveaways to our paying subscribers. So that's one way that we do show our appreciation to them. But again, I wish they would just pay for what we're doing. We have over the years scheduled events to try and inspire an event-driven contribution or a payment of some kind. We actually have found that events are really important, and that folks who might not respond to any other messaging that we do, if we throw a party and invite everybody to come meet us and have a fun evening with us, then they will give money. So the first one of these we did was, I think it was on our 3rd birthday party, and we threw a big party at the local coffee shop downtown Davidson, which is sort of the soul of our downtown. And we got maybe 400 people came out, and I think between a pre-party campaign that we did by email and on the site, and then the day of the event, and then a silent auction, and after party responses, I think we raised about $7,000 in that one event, which that's still our all-time record. We've done a couple of more similar parties to that over the years, and I think they tend to bring in about $5,000 in one fell swoop. So I think they're a good way to both engage with your readers in a face-to-face situation, and also to ask and to get them to respond by becoming members and talking to them about it. At our site, we call it a voluntary subscription payment, and I adopted that lingo because, in fact, I just noticed I have the word contribution on here, which I need to take down. We were advised by our lawyers that we should stay as far away from any language that smacks of a donation of any kind, because we are not a nonprofit, we're an LLC, and we can't take donations, and people cannot take a tax deduction for what they give us. So, and our lawyers tell us, and I think it's proper not to mislead the readers into thinking they're making a charitable contribution, but that they're giving us money to pay for a service that they use. So we try to stay away from that, but we call it a voluntary subscription payment. And I confess, in the back of my mind, I am pointing towards the day when I can drop the word voluntary. I don't know when that will happen. So I mentioned that our average payment is $62.50 or so. They range from $25 all the way up to, we've had a couple of supporters who give us $1,000 a year. And that's really generous and incredible, and I hope that we can continue to inspire that kind of interest among our readers. For folks who pay once a month, the average amount seems to be around $8 to $10, which also is very generous, and we appreciate that. So, We have, over the past 5 years, probably a total of 450 people have given us money. And I'm going to say that probably, our core readership, if I boil it down to people who come, let's say they come every day or every other day, we probably have 5,000. So we're roughly in the 10% range there, I think. You know, our monthly readership is much higher, but that would include people who come only once or twice during the month. So trying to do a comparison with public radio, you know, your core readers are most likely to be your supporters. So anyway, let's see. It's not the mic is for online only. We don't have a mic. I'll try to speak up. Sorry. I mentioned that the different ways that people can pay us, just as far as logistics go. Our favorite way for people to give us money is to hand me a check at an event or send it in by mail. Obviously, a check is we don't have to pay any extra fees on top of that. We do have a service through a company in Charlotte called Easy Draft, and it's an online credit card service. Some of you could do this through your banks, or you can use any of the online payment services would work, as long as you got a button on there that lets people click it and make a payment pretty quickly. We started out using PayPal, and the service that we have now is actually a little cheaper to us than PayPal. But anyway, that's it for me.
Yeah. Can you want to pull up New Haven Independent too, because that's a nonprofit one that we can use an example. Hi, I'm Kelly Gilfillan, and I'm with Brentwood Homepage and FranklinHomepage.com. Brentwood Homepage is, Susan was my partner, the one between the bathrooms. She she is the editor, and I'm the managing partner, but we're 50-50 partners. And Brentwood Homepage is 3 years old, and we've never charged for a subscription or anything else other than advertising. Franklin Homepage is our second site, which is a needy 6-week-old right now. So we decided, we have an advisory board, and we have all kinds of people on the advisory board. We had an advisory board member who was a journalist that Susan went to Emory and Henry with in Virginia, and he suggested that we do this. He brought it up a different way that didn't quite jive, and the advisory board kind of talked us out of doing it. So a year later, we're starting to see other people do this. And last November, we found Block by Block, and we started following all the different papers. In May, we did a webinar through the Poynter Institute, and they actually talked about Davidson News and New Haven Independent. So we just started looking at their sites out of curiosity, and we found Support Us. And we were like, okay, it's not a bad idea, it's legit, and we should follow through with it. And we did fairly quickly. We did it over the summer, which maybe in hindsight would have waited till August, everybody was back from vacations. But we were kicking off Franklin Homepage in August 1st, and so we did not want anybody thinking they were funding Franklin Homepage. We wanted them to know they were funding or helping Brentwood Homepage. So we kind of wanted to get that kicked off before. We were careful about our terminology, and we made sure we did not say donate or contribute. We had our graphic artist make this cute little graphic of holding up Brentwood Homepage. We just basically wrote a letter to our readers and said, this is who we are, this is what we do. We tried to say it as well as we could without saying we're broke, because I don't think that's good either. I've heard a lot of you say there is a misconception with the public that we're rolling in the dough. And because they see a lot of the ads on the site, and we're very blessed, we do have a lot of ads running on the site. You can't really see them here because I took off the ads off the site. So we wrote them a letter. We gave an option in the middle, right? Whoops, what did I just do? Sorry. We gave them an option to pay with a credit card, and very important if you do this, give them an option to mail in the check, because there's a lot of people who don't want to use the credit card, still don't trust PayPal, especially the sweet little old ladies. And in one of the breakout sessions, we started talking about this yesterday, and well, let me finish this and then I'll go back to that. So we wanted that monthly income and try to get up, at least a few $100s a month. But we did 5. This is a drop down where you can choose your, well, never mind. You can choose payment, the $25 one time, $50 one time, and then we said, it explains in the letter, we're forming a BHP Readers Council, and anything over $100 as a subscription, then you are on that Readers Council. And that would include getting breaking news first, which is what they really care about, and interacting with us, telling us how we can improve the paper, just basically having input, which they could have had anyway, but we were basically giving the public a way to support us. I think you're just opening the door and saying, if you want to help, we'll take it. And the great thing that came out of this, besides the money, which this is only really 8 weeks ago, so we have $4,000 has come in with the subscriptions, another $1,000 committed, to come out. So we're at 5,000 commitment, and they're still coming in. We're getting about a check a week, and they're usually the $100 checks, and so it did mean something to them to be on the Readers Council. And so I suggest that you find some way to tie in. They want that interaction with you. They care about you, they like you. Susan's really funny, she has a great column and with high readership, and they love her. She's got this great personality and they follow her. So, that's part of it too, is them just liking my partner. Okay, but here's the great thing. So we were tired. We were trying to start our second newspaper. We're freaking out. We're not sleeping. And the money starts coming in. It was perfect timing, really. And we started getting these handwritten notes with a $100 check. And these notes said, "We love what you do. Please keep doing it. You're the first thing I do every morning, and I tell all my friends about it." We have a stack like this of notes people telling us they love us. And if we ever needed it, it was at that moment. And it was such an encouragement. And so, we just kind of had a little bit of lift in our step from that point on. Does anybody have any questions? I'm only 8 weeks into it, so they have a lot more experience. Okay.
If the LA Times can get it, and the Washington Post, why not us small guys?
There's a journalism foundation.
Other one to pull up. It's not working.
You have to trust them. Funnel the money to you.
He knows all about it.
One other thing I wanted to let you guys know, is anybody a nonprofit? This is a great site in New Haven, Connecticut, New Haven Independent, and they have a support us, they call it Becoming a Friend, and this is where I got the idea to go into PayPal, and I just kept digging until I found it on PayPal. But I like their wording too, and because they're nonprofit, they're full disclosure, and if you go in and see their financial report, which is posted on here, they're making some money from it, quite a bit, so that you can actually pull it out in the financial report. So that really And then call us and talk to us if you want, because I called him and just said, tell me, how's this going? Is it worth my time? Should I do this? Did you have any negative feedback? And he was great. And literally, that was my last, I'm not going to chicken out now, was I talked to David, and the next day we posted it. So, and we have a daily email, and we sent out the email separate several times, and then it ran in the daily email for 2 weeks. And now it's up on the site. We have house ads running, and those house ads are getting clicks. And it just says, say yes to Brentwood homepage. So support yourself that way too. Use your advertising to support it.
Since she's brought up the New Haven Independent as a good example of this, I would also point you to, if you're a nonprofit or a for-profit, look at what sorts of reader development events and activities are going on at Texas Tribune, St. Louis Beacon. Is there anybody here from St. Louis Beacon? There was somebody here. Yeah. Anyway, they, as nonprofits that are in larger markets, they're doing a lot with events and speeches by public officials and authors and that sort of thing. So they've figured out how to tap into that. They also raise money from the corporate side as well. But I've been to a couple of conferences where I've heard them give examples of what they're doing, and I think there's a lot to look at there as well. So, Tracy.
Yeah, can you pull up Berkeley side on that? But I also need this. This could be interesting. Oh, thank you. Oh, just the front page. Yeah. Hi. Hi. This isn't working, right? No, okay. Okay. So, yeah, I just have to get my act together here. Okay, I'm here. So, Berkeley side. Well, one thing we're talking about nonprofits. If you're a nonprofit, you're in a much better position to get obviously support from your readers. You don't need to go through any of these hoops about donations. That's what it's all about. You can go out there and tell the world very confidently you need support. You're a nonprofit, and they're going to get that that's going to be deductible, which is not the case for us. I think any of us. So we need to tread a little bit more carefully. But the really good news, and I think both Kelly and David have mentioned this, is people, if they like your site, they do want to support you. The only thing is they don't know that you need money. This is and they just need to be told. They just need to be told, by the way, we do need your support. And once you tell them that, you will start getting checks. And actually, you'll get money before. Like, I've had exactly the same experience. We started getting donations, or people coming up to us when we were at maybe a street fair or an event. They'd say, "How can I support you?" And we'd say, "Well, you can give us some money." And people get out the checkbooks and give you money. But we decided. So just to give you a sort of idea, we have 10% of our current revenue is from our readers. We reckon we can make that at least 20%, and based on David's formula of 10%, that's going to be about right, I think. I hadn't heard that actually, that 10%. But and the way we decided to do it was we thought we would take advice from somebody who actually knew how to do this. We had a partnership, we still have a partnership with the Bay Citizen, which is a non-profit Bay Area journalism group, which recently merged with the Center for Investigative Journalism. But they have a full-time, or had, she left, but they had a full-time membership person whose sole job was to build membership. And she did a fabulous job. They had, I think, she gave me the numbers, but I can't remember exactly. But anyway, a lot of money was coming in from donors and readers. So just when she was just about to leave the Bay Citizen, or when she just left, we hired her. We just asked her to write a strategic report for us to say, okay, how should Berkeley side do this? Because it is an art form. There's a whole sort of series of steps that you need to take to do it. It's not that complicated though, and people were saying in a breakout session yesterday, oh, but this is going to take a lot of time, and it's going to be one more thing I can't do. As long as you set up some very simple systems, and we just do it at the moment on Excel spreadsheets. We just keep a track of, we have about 300 people who either donate monthly or give us, and we do still use the word donate, but I'm going to try, I think we're going to change that. So people who either give us monthly or they give us one-off payments, a yearly payment, which we then have to remind them. So a lot of it is about retention. You have to you have to figure out, how somebody gives you some money, that's great, but you have to remember to remind them to give it to you again, preferably every year. So I'm just going to, I have here on my computer a sort of the idiot's guide, the instruction manual to doing this, and I'm very happy to share it with you. If you'd like to email me, I can email it to you. This is the strategic plan that we paid to have done, and it's been a total godsend for us. We're just implementing it now. We're putting it into practice. I'll tell you what my email is, so you can, if you want it. It's Tracy with an E, so Tracey, just the letter K, and then Taylor, so tracyktaylor@gmail.com. And I'll happily email this to you. tracyktaylor@gmail.com, yeah. So the key thing that we were told is, and it's a very easy way to start this whole process, is to build an email list. And we did that through, we have, like a lot of you, I'm sure, a daily email that comes out of the website. We started out just doing it on a Google FeedBurner. FeedBurner? Is that what it's called? FeedBurner? That sounds wrong. It is? Okay. So it's, again, it's completely no work. It's an automatic thing that's generated by Google FeedBurner. It just goes out at the end of the day, and people get a recap of everything that we've written about that day. And you capture these emails by telling people to subscribe to what we call it the daily briefing. So we actually then redesigned it and went off FeedBurner, because there's a lot of stuff you can't do on FeedBurner. It's totally not, you can't customize it. It's just what it is. It's just an automated feed. And the irony was a lot of people told us they loved the one that we didn't pay to have designed and everything, the FeedBurner one. But the good thing about the non-FeedBurner one is that you can put ads on it, you can get it sponsored, you can customize it, you can make it look really good. Anyway, so the daily briefing, as we call it, with daily email, is a really good way to start building an email list. And there are ways you can do it. You can opt people in without, it's all choices. Do you want to opt people into this without, and then have them opt out? Maybe not. So you ask them if you want. You have a button on the. We have a button right at the top of the page on the right, that big orange thing. It's very prominent. It says, it's free, get your daily email. We have about 3,000 people now, but we're just sort of really starting to plug it really heavily now, because the reason you want all these emails is that these are the people you can email to become members, to say support you. You can do it in other ways too, like with the support page and the support button, but those sort of support buttons people don't necessarily go there that often. They're there, you have to have them, but they're just a sort of placeholder. You really need to reach out to people, whether it's by email, whether it's canvassing. We haven't done this, but the Bay Citizen did a lot of canvassing. They actually hired people to go out in the street. We felt uncomfortable about this, but apparently it really works. People, if you go out, those people that come up to you in the street, I always avoid them like the plague, but apparently if you go up to them and say, and that was a funny aside too, the Bay Citizen, it was in our market, so they would be going into Berkeley and saying, have you heard about the Bay Citizen? And they'd say, no, but we've heard about Berkeley side. So it was like, I just wish they were working for us. They could have said, okay, well, why don't you subscribe to Berkeley side instead? But unfortunately, that wasn't their goal. But they told us exactly where to go. There's a very popular grocery store, the Berkeley Bowl, which is sort of famous market grocery. And they said, people there, they all know you. And if you go down there, you will get money. You can pull in the money. We haven't done that yet. We feel a bit uncomfortable just actually, doing that sort of cold calling canvassing. But so the daily email is a good start. Get as many people as you can on that, and then you have to basically think about asking people with a campaign, what's called a membership campaign. And this question has come up a lot. Do you have to give something to somebody? And the instinct is why should we give something? But it's basically very well documented. People want to be given something. They want to be thanked. It doesn't really matter what it is, but just a little something to say, okay, it justifies my payment. I love Berkeley side, but I'm also going to get this great photographic print, which is one of our most successful campaigns. We have some really, really great photographers on the site, and we asked one of them if he would be willing to do a limited edition print of a picture which basically a lot of readers had admired it, and they said, we love this. We did it just before the holiday season. It was a huge success. We only did 20, I think, but it was $300 or subscribe for $25 a month. So it was a $300 donation or subscribe for $25 a month. Get this signed limited edition print, which was the cost was very, very low. So we had a nice margin on that. And it was a sort of win-win because we promoted this great photographer. Other people who didn't get the limited edition print went to him separately and bought stuffs, and he's their favorite contributor, so that was good for us. But it's a way of we had it that it instantly gave us lots of members because they bought the print. The other things we've done are when we did a really good story, if you break something big and you're really proud of it, send an email to all those people on that list that you've built and say, this is what we're doing here. This is if you like what we're doing, if you want more of this, we need your help. Give us $5 a month, give us $10 a month. So you can do it that way, and you can also. I've talked about canvassing. What else? Acquisition. This is all coming straight from this guide. Yeah, well then that's retention. So that's what are you giving them? So you're thanking them. So this is something we didn't do very well for a while, but now we're sort of figuring it out. You can give them the T-shirt or the photographic print or the there's the email saying we're doing a great job. Can you thank? But then you need to. These people, I think, that they want to know that they're valued. It makes sense. They're giving you money. They're reading your site, but sometimes you just have to say thank you in a totally thank you, but could you give us more way? But just thank you. We really appreciate this. So we give them sort of a value package, if you like. One thing we do is an email newsletter every month, which is just for them. It just tells them about the sort of inside Berkeley side, what's going on, what are we hatching. We had our interns this summer write 2 short essays about their experience of working on Berkeley side, which they both did a really fabulous job. It's a sort of like behind the scenes type thing, so they feel like they're involved. I mean, I think the Reader Council is a really great idea. We're going to steal that one. It's like you're part of this. We're all part of the same community. So so we do that. We also this year, just for the first time, did a party, and we had it sponsored. We basically had it fairly low cost. We had the venue was given to us. The caterer we did a sort of trade deal with, but so he's going to take some he's going to have some advertising on the site, so it wasn't very expensive, but it was a nice bash. I mean, we did a nice job, and we invited all our members, and we said this is just to say thank you. And we had them. I think it was about 100, around 100. We unfortunately didn't plan it very well. We thought we'd checked off all the Jewish holidays and all that, but then it turned out it was the Democratic Convention, and it was the night of Obama's speech. And we were in Berkeley, remember? So a lot of people were like, "Oh, I can't come. I have to watch Obama." But yeah, we got 100, so that wasn't too bad. So I don't know. I'm not going to just to go through this word by word, but I think there's a plan. And if you follow the plan, it works. And as I say, we're sort of at the beginning of this, and we're just really sort of ramping it up and making it more professional, I guess. It was a bit winging it, like a lot of the things we did at the beginning. And I can share this with you, but there's nothing more gratifying, and I think that's really worth repeating, that people, when you see that little PayPal thing, and they come in every day saying, you have a payment, or you have a new donation, or you have cash, it's like, people love us. People it's the best way of just feeling good about what you're doing. So, do it.
I just have a couple of reflections on things that I've heard from my other 2 colleagues here. First of all, I'm going to say the same thing that they said, which is, I hear all the time this phrase, I didn't know you needed money. Yeah. And if you were to go out and talk to your own readers, I think they would probably say the same thing. They don't understand, number one, that we're a business or a nonprofit organization, and number 2, that we might be in any kind of financial need at all. So you got to tell them. And the way that I do that is I write columns on the site periodically. We typically do a couple of campaigns a year in the same way that a public radio station would do a campaign. And so we have a designated time when I'll write something on the site, we'll have an event, and we'll put some more messaging out in our emails. We also have an email list used the same way. So you have to ask, and the public radio stations know this. That's why they have 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 campaigns a year. They're always coming on asking you for money. If they don't ask, they don't get paid. if we don't ask, we don't get paid. So in a voluntary subscriber environment that we're in, if you don't ask people, they won't volunteer. So we need to do that. I heard from somebody yesterday, we were talking about this, and this publisher said, well, I'm really uncomfortable about begging, and it just seems like begging, and I don't like to do that. I'm a journalist, and I totally get that, but I'm sorry to say that if we want to get paid to do this, I think one of the things we need to learn how to do is ask. And I wouldn't look at it as begging. I would say I'm requesting to be paid for what I'm doing. So.
I mean, I have never had any person look aghast when, you know, you either say, would you support us, or it's quite the opposite. I mean, if you have goodwill in your community, you will get money. I mean, people will, they're really happy to. It doesn't feel, and I think, you know, if you needed an argument, the one David said right at the beginning about, you know, you used to pay for your daily newspaper, you subscribe to a newspaper, it's just the same thing. You know, we're just asking you to support, you know, those newspapers had ads too.
I do want to say I did have one negative reaction, just one. He responded to the email, and he used poor language. I mean, poor grammar. This is the dumbest thing I ever did see. And kind of went on and, you know, just 3 sentences kind of blasted us. And I promptly hit the delete button and didn't think about it again until now. But I just thought I should warn you, you might get one person, and I think you said you had one negative reaction.
No, I get them all the time.
Oh, see, I only had one, and I just, and my policy, I get all the web forms and all the responses to the newsletter on my email, and my policy is to always hit reply and say thank you for your input. This is the only time I ever didn't do it. I hit delete because I disagree with him.
There is a bit of negative. It's overwhelmed by the positive support that we get. But I wanted to also mention a couple of other things that I do, and then I'll come over with a question. I mentioned I write columns about it, and I actually say in the column, you know, please pay us. Here, you pay for these other things. I wrote a column before or yesterday morning, posted on our site before the sessions, and I was telling my readers where I am this week, and I had my usual paragraph in there about supporting what we're doing, and I drew a comparison to the business on Main Street, the guy starting a yogurt shop, and I said, you know, you would not expect to walk into the yogurt shop and have him hand you a cup of yogurt and say thank you, you know, that we need to be viewed by our readers in the same way that they view the coffee shop or the yogurt shop or the book shop, whatever. So you need to get that messaging out and just keep reminding them. We recently, for about the 1000th time, I heard somebody say to me, I didn't know you needed money, or I didn't know you were asking, I never saw your messages, I felt like I was doing a lot. You can never do too much of this, and there's probably a happy medium somewhere about how much you do, but we actually, in our campaign in the summertime, we used, I guess you could call it a pop-up. On the first visit to our site, we used a pop-up that said, you know, please pay for a subscription to our site, and if you were to go to our site, I don't know if you'll see it here, I was unable to pull it up on the screen here, but it's a pretty simple message, and it takes you right to our support page, and it's just a reminder to people that yes, we do need them to make a payment. Yeah. Right. Okay. And so our same messaging holds there. It's just a pop-up that they can't miss. Somebody told me, you got to get in my face, and that's where I get a little uncomfortable. I mean, I don't feel like I'm begging, but I do feel a little bit uncomfortable about the pop-up, but it seems to have had a good effect, and we've got a regular stream coming in. The email list is really important, and along with that, if you don't have a privacy policy, develop a privacy policy and get it out there. We all have to do that, both with respect to our emails.
What do you mean about privacy?
A privacy policy is a statement on your site about what you do with information you collect about the people who read. So, anyway.
Can we get some questions?
Yeah. He had a question over here.
In the nonprofit fundraising world, I think what they would say is don't think of it as begging, think of it as giving your audience an opportunity to support you.
Put a positive spin. Yeah.
Now you set your pop-up to go automatically the first visit. Have you thought about doing pop-ups on like the 5th visit?
Actually, the plugin, I use WordPress on our site, and there's a plugin available. It might be called WP Pop-Up or something like that, but it can be customized to appear as often as you want. You can tell it to do it every 5 visits, every 10 visits, once a week. So you can regulate how much it shows up. So when we did our initial campaign with it, I had it appearing more frequently. Now it's set to show up just once a week. So, follow up?
The second thing on privacy policy, in the state of California, I think it's called something different. For California people, it's your privacy rights. And actually the OMLN did work with us. We have a good one if people want to look at ours.
So he said in California they call it your privacy rights.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And that they have worked with OMLN to develop a policy, and he'd be willing to share it. Tell us your name.
It's the Bulldog, Wells Park Bulldog.
Wells Park Bulldog. Okay. Well, maybe we can get that email out.
Yeah, I was just going to say about pop-ups, which a lot of people feel very uncomfortable with, but the sort of message we got, the advice we got was to very much concentrate your asks into 2 or 3 campaigns a year, no more. And when you do that, go hell for leather on that campaign. It's all over the website. That's when you can use pop-ups. That's when you can send several emails, and then a reminder. But just keep it very, very focused around one thing, whatever it is that you're doing that time, whether it's with an offer or whether it's talking about your wonderful journalism. There's a whole lot of stuff about how you make it personal, but this is the advice we got anyway, don't just keep it sort of running throughout the year and have pop-ups here, there, and everywhere. Make it, think about when might be a good time. Holiday time is good because everybody's giving anyway. It's a sort of time when people tend to give money. A summer campaign, you could do an Independence Day campaign around the fact that you're independent, you're an independent, journalism, as opposed to some other local journalism we could mention. And just think about it that way, and don't sort of just don't overwhelm people. Because nobody likes to be. We all know how it feels like when you're being asked just that once too often. Well, we just keep all of the information on Excel spreadsheets right now, but we're just transferring it into CMS. Is that the word I'm looking for? CRM. Which goes to show how little I know. We've got someone putting it into a CRM. It's Zoho, for what it's worth, but we haven't started using it. Oh, it is?
Yeah, we use Zoho, but we customized it. We have a spreadsheet. I have a separate mailing list. We use bondware.com, and it's a newspaper publishing software, and you can have separate email lists. So we have our Readers Council email list and kind of separate them out that way for communication, and we make sure they get the breaking news. It's their favorite thing, a wreck or a burglary or something.
We use MailChimp to do all the email send-outs, the campaign. Any sort of email that's going to every member, we use MailChimp.
And Bondware has their own e-newsletter module, and so we use that. But it's in a spreadsheet and in a CRM as well. And we keep it in a spreadsheet so we can easily make mailing labels to send them things.
And we also use just a straight spreadsheet to keep track of the people who give us money, and we also use Constant Contact for our email system.
One thing I haven't heard you mention that we do in the nonprofit sector is direct mail. So for the past 4 years, we do a direct mail campaign and send them the envelope. Have you thought about?
Is it being successful for you?
Yeah, we raise about $20,000 a year. We're in a community of about 145,000 people. The average gift's about $150. And
Do you do it around a particular time of year, or what?
we do it October, November, December. So in that period.
Tell us your site name and all that.
Charlottesville Tomorrow. So we're a nonprofit.
So the only reason we haven't done it is cost. We thought that would be a costly way, and email is obviously so much.
Right. Well, so you have to build in that cost of the paper and the
But
envelopes.
it sounds like it works. Yeah.
But so we gross about 20. We might net about 18.
And is it based around? Can you tell us a bit more about what you say in that direct mail?
We try to keep it to one page, so it's a letter that I sign and the chair of the board signs. We try to write handwritten notes on as many of those letters as we can. So we circulate them among our board members. I mean, this is old-fashioned fundraising. So this is not high tech. but it's high touch and high personalization.
And we do send a handwritten thank you note to every person who sends us something. I think it's very important to acknowledge it. That I get the emails when we get the You've Got Cash thing from PayPal, and so I immediately turn around and send, I have a form email set up, a little template, and I immediately send them an email saying thank you, and then we follow up with a handwritten thank you note.
We do thank you notes as well, and we also, during our campaigns, we have asked some of our longtime supporters and friends to write letters on our own behalf. So it's not quite the same as a direct mail with an envelope in there, but we have done letters out to very targeted folks in the community. And actually, I think one of our letter writers at one point actually did put some envelopes in there, and we got them back. So that's a great idea. On my Support Us page, we have some reader testimonials, and we put those on our site. I mean, it's good to share that with your readers and to get them thinking about it. Yeah, you know, I believe that too. So there's a question right here.
Can you say some words about co-ops? Yeah.
Molly, did you have a question? I was just going to say, to add to what he said about it's not begging, we had so many people, we for the first time this spring told people we needed money, and we did a fund drive, and we did, since over half of our traffic comes from social media, we did it as a social media fund drive, and we had several people that said, thank you so much, I've always wanted to be involved, but I'm not a writer, so now finally there's a way that I can be involved. So they were actually, it built community and made people feel like they were a part of it by being able to just donate a little money.
Are there any more pressing questions or comments about the reader support thing? We're going to hear in just a minute the group with talking about cooperatives is going to say words.
Hi, I'm Lila from San Francisco Public Press. I wanted to echo, we're doing a lot of the things you guys are doing, and we just decided to pay someone for a little bit of help. We actually hired the former membership manager from the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition, who took them from 6,000 to 12,000 members in 4 years, and she's amazing. And we were hiring her on an hourly basis because that's what we can afford, but she helped us put together a big plan. One thing for you guys who are doing events, do you know about Square? Okay, get one of these. You probably can't see it on the other side of the room. It's this big. It fits into your iPhone or Android phone or your iPad, and you can take credit card payments on site, which is amazing for events because it's so great. This has been huge for us in terms of getting members in person because not everybody carries enough cash or checks. The other thing is, yes, I am the crazy newspaper lady. However, this is a lovely, inexpensive marketing device. If you guys are already creating the content, especially, we don't do ads, but if you're already doing ads, it's not that expensive to put this together. It costs us $3,200 to print 8,000 copies, and if you're dealing with a small geographic area, it's not that hard to distribute them. We do it quarterly, so we don't do breaking news in this. And you know, I think somebody else, News Talk, is doing, starting on a month, no, you guys are doing weekly, somebody else is doing a monthly publication. If anybody wants to talk about that, come to me. I can help you.
Before you sit down, tell us, the format is obviously broadsheet, how many pages here?
It's 16-page, 4-color broadsheet. We do it in 2 sections. We always put our special report on the second section. We have a full-page comic on the back. It's a very serious, recorded graphic novel style comic.
Can we get a copy?
Yes, I have lots of free copies for you, but otherwise we sell them for $1.
I just want to mention Kickstarter. Has anybody talked about Kickstarter?
Yeah, we'd be looking at doing it.
We did it, we failed.
All right. Well, it's not necessarily a guarantee, but you put it out there and say, hey, we want to hit $10,000. You can invest in our business, and people can pay any amount, $20, $10. If you hit the mark, their credit card is charged, and you have investment money.
I think she means very specific house.
Right.
You know, I think we need to buy.
But it's a great tool, and I'm sure there's lots of conditions. But I haven't done one, but it does work.
We have full profit.
Yeah.
There's another one now that you don't have to hit the mark. People get as far as you go.
Yeah, the other one's Indiegogo. Anyone tried that one? Is that the one? Yeah, that is like Kickstarter wants like a product.
Right.
Indiegogo can just be give you money.